I'm recording.
Hey, welcome to Using a Visual Schedule at Home. This is being presented by Jennifer McKenzie and Jamie Negebauer. We are the Assistive Technology Specialists for Alvin ISD. We're going to talk a little bit about the type of schedule to use in your house with your kids. First of all, what is a visual schedule? A visual schedule is a way of showing upcoming events, activities visually. It may consist of objects, photos, drawings, icons, or words. The way that we as adults typically use a visual schedule is using our phone to schedule out what we have coming up, or writing it down on a piece of paper, or maybe on a paper calendar.
Ten reasons for your child to use and keep using a visual schedule. Visual schedules can help your child to improve a variety of pro-social behaviors and decrease your stress. Here's 10 reasons why you should be using a visual schedule and a link to show you how to put one together. Words are transitory. They're here and then they're gone. Your child either heard them or he didn't. The advantage of visual schedules is that with pictures, that information is always there. It's non-transitory, always ready to communicate the information that your son needs to know. The use of visual schedules capitalizes on the visual learning memory strength that most kids on the autism spectrum have. The odds that a child will remember something that they've seen on the schedule is much better than the odds of them remembering something that they've been told. Some kids with autism or other special needs have slower processing times, which means it can be a challenge to really take in verbal instructions, which means they can miss a lot of what's being said. Visual schedules help to remedy that. The use of visual schedules is the one support strategy that can provide the organization, structure, and predictability that kids on the autism spectrum need to have a successful day. Your child is least likely to process verbal information when he or she is upset, frustrated, worried, or angry. Visual schedules help to overcome that. Children on the autism spectrum sometimes have to focus so much on the pragmatics of communication, such as tone of voice, gesture, and facial expressions, that they lose what's actually being communicated. Visual schedules take out the pragmatics of communication so that they can strictly focus on the message that needs to be understood. Research shows that visual schedules increase on-task behaviors, which in turn increases academic learning time. This accelerates the learning for your child both at home and at school. Visual schedules allow your child to become more independent, decreasing the need for him to have to ask other people what needs to be done. And because of that increased independence, he'll find more acceptance by his peers. Visual schedules promote organization, and the child who learns how to prepare a visual schedule is developing a habit that will help promote organizational skills for the rest of his or her life. Because they provide a means for anticipating upcoming events, visual schedules help your child to ease through transitions, and by doing so decreases rigid behavior and increases flexible behavior.
So I know that this particular video spoke a lot about children on the autism spectrum. However, using a visual schedule is beneficial for children of all ages. The organization for a schedule or what's going on throughout the day is a skill that is actually not even developed in the frontal lobe until about age 25. So having a schedule is beneficial for all students and a lot of adults. So 10 reasons to use a visual schedule is the information is always there. They can always refer back to that visual schedule to look at what they're doing and what needs to be done next. The second reason is for visual memory. If they forget what they're going to do next, they can always go back to that schedule and find out what they need to do. It's there for them. And 3, The increased processing time. They may need a bit more time to process what's coming up. And so this schedule allows for that. Number 4, the organization, the structure, and the predictability. They know what's coming up. There are no surprises. We will talk a little bit later about incorporating some unpredictable things into that schedule, which is fine. But for the most part, it's structured and predictable. Number 5, more likely to process the visual information when upset and angry. Oftentimes when we're too upset or we're too angry, we can't hear what people are trying to tell us. So using the visual schedule will reinforce the information on what is coming next or what needs to be done. Number 6, it reduces the need to process all the social cues that go along with an adult telling them what's going on. It gets rid of the child trying to figure out what is that facial expression meaning, what gestures are they using, what's that tone of voice mean. They're just able to just process the information using that visual. Number 7, it increases on-task behaviors. They're not trying to think about, oh my gosh, what's coming up next, and having anxiety about that. They're able to focus on what they're doing now because they know what's coming next. Number 8, it allows independence. That's what we all want for our kiddos, is for them to have some independence and to do things on their own. This reduces the amount of the what's coming up next, mom, the kind of roaming around trying to figure out what to do next. It gives them that independence to go on to the next activity. Number 9, it promotes organization, which again, like I said, that piece of our brain isn't fully developed until about age 25. And so this is helping with that process of how to organize a day and how to organize events. And number 10, it helps the child anticipate transitions. Transitions can be very difficult for little ones. It can be very difficult for all kiddos, especially if it's from a preferred activity to a non-preferred activity. So this visual schedule will help them anticipate that, yes, that transition is coming up at some point. We're going to watch another video, and we're just going to watch about the first 5 minutes of this video that kind of shows how a schedule is put into practice.
Teaching and using visual schedules. Visual schedules help make life more predictable and comfortable for children. They are helpful in both the classroom and at home. Children should be able to answer a few questions when using a visual schedule. What am I doing right now? How do I know I'm making progress? How do I know when I'm finished? And what comes next? It can be really effective to use an interactive schedule where the pieces are taken off or turned over throughout the day. This is Emmett's morning schedule. We put it together because he was having some struggles in the morning, especially with getting dressed. So when we first introduced the schedule to Emmett, we just explained what the pictures meant on here. And it doesn't matter so much what your pictures are as long as you and the child are consistent with them and know what they mean. So this little symbol for get dressed is a little person with a star on their shirt. It doesn't have a picture of someone actually getting dressed, but we explained to him that this picture means get dressed. And we're consistent with that, so he knows now. He kind of can read it just like we can read words. You can learn how to read pictures. He reads it as get dressed. So we said, okay, here's your schedule. First thing, we get dressed, wash hands, eat breakfast, bus your dishes, which is a term they use at school, so we kind of carried it over. You can use clean up, whatever works for your family. Brush teeth, and then it's playtime. And to motivate him for the first week or two, because he really struggled with the getting dressed part. He would rather stay in his pajamas or run around the house naked. And, you know, washing hands and getting to the table was a struggle. So at the meal table, we had some sea creature placemats that he could use, and he could choose different ones, and they were new and novel and exciting. So that kind of motivated him to get through this hard part of his schedule, and then he got to use one of the sea creature placemats. We went through the schedule really consistently for a couple of weeks. After, maybe 2 weeks, he could kind of go through by himself and take the pieces off. After he got dressed, he would pull it off. They're on Velcro. And on the back, we have more Velcro, and he would just stick it on the back. It's really nice to have the schedule because, when you get to those times where they don't want to get dressed, you can be like, I know, it's such a bummer. But the schedule says get dressed. And you can kind of blame the schedule, and it takes a little bit of the battle out of who's telling the child to get dressed. So we have these on here. If it's a school day, because he goes to school part-time, we have a little school symbol, so we would put that instead of playtime here. We also have play outside, because that's a big motivator for him. He really likes to play outside. So sometimes instead of just playing, we would specify, like, you get to go outside in the backyard. Another thing I really like to have with schedules is a surprise. You can use kind of any symbol I've seen, like little fireworks or stars or something that just means, and you teach the child that a surprise just means something different. So if we're going to, instead of playing, maybe we are going to go to OMSI or the zoo or to the park or somewhere that's different from our normal routine, that's when we would put the surprise up, and we would explain to Emmett when we got going in the morning that, oh, look, we have a surprise today. Today, after you brush your teeth, we are going to go to OMSI. And then as he goes through his schedule, like after he gets dressed, we would say, review a couple of things and say, and remember, do you remember what surprise means today? And we would talk about it enough until he could be like, yeah, we're going to OMSI. So that's a really nice one, to just be able to put in whatever changes and prepare a child for those changes. We struggled the most with our morning routine, so we really focused our schedule on that morning routine. If you're doing this at home, you can do it for the entire day. You can do it for just the morning or just for bedtime or that kind of dinner, evening through bedtime. I know that can be a really challenging time as well. But what's really nice is you can make a schedule fit whatever your family's needs are. If you are doing a schedule for a classroom, you do need to have your entire day, all the major components of your day on your schedule. Some kids will need it be repeated every single day, and you should refer to your schedule throughout the day, every day. Some kids will barely look at the schedule, but it is nice to have that consistency because they can't read clocks, they can't check a calendar. This is kind of their only way to ground themselves in time.
So that's one idea of a visual schedule that has been used. I love how she has the Velcro on the back to store all the pictures, so you're not having to hunt down pictures when you need them. I also love her idea of using the surprise image. So if something comes up and you spontaneously decide, hey, we're going to go to the zoo today or go somewhere special, you can stick that on there and help prepare your child for doing something different that day. So just a few ideas there. There are many different types of visual schedules that you can create and you can use. A lot of them depend on the age of your child, the needs of your child, and what their abilities are. So the first one I want to talk about is what we call, in fancy terms, a task analysis. It's really just a checklist. It's good for older students who can read and they can check off each task as it's completed. Some older students may be able to help write out the schedule with you, which would help teach great planning and organizational skills. So especially if you're doing virtual learning this year, it'd be good to sit down with them and talk about what the schedule is going to look like. What do we need to do first? What do we need to do next? And you can have them write it, or you can write it, but involve them in it. And then they can just check it off as they go or when they have assignments. So a great idea for older students, especially if they can read and write. We also, one of the more common ones is a daily schedule, which is what's used in classrooms a lot of times. It's something I've used in my house with my children. You just list off what each task is for the day. So you're going to start off in the morning. What do we do in the morning? We get dressed, we eat breakfast, we brush teeth, all of those things. And as your child completes that task, you will move that image or words or whatever you choose to use to the finished section. So you can look at it and say, okay, what's first? What's next? And they can see what's coming. It helps them to anticipate that. If you have a long list of events that are occurring during the day, especially if your child's home all day, if it's a weekend, or if you're doing virtual learning, you may want to break it up and do a morning schedule and an afternoon schedule, or however it works to break up your day. So you might list out, these are the things we do before lunch. These are the things we do after lunch. If your kid does go to school, or if it happens to be a school day, you could do a schedule for in the morning up until they leave for school, and then a schedule for what happens in the afternoon when they come home, just so they know what to expect and what you expect of them. There's also a weekly schedule that you can create where you have each day of the week. This is great to help your child anticipate different events that occur throughout the week that probably don't happen every day or even every week. So it might be medical appointments, it might be therapy appointments, it might be extracurricular activities that you'll have to attend, or grocery shopping. So it's just a great way to, you put the day, if it's happening on Wednesday, you'll put that image there just so you can look and see what's happening this week. It's also good to show your child visually what day is a school day and what day is not a school day. So we put a little picture in here. I hope you can see it at the bottom right of the screen. It's just a typical planner. You can draw a little symbol to represent that it's a school day, or it's a day that you're not doing school, or a home day, however you want to say that to your child. So if it's Monday, it's a school day, you can highlight that and say, okay, today's Monday, we're doing school today. And then at the end of the day, cross it out. And you can look and say, tomorrow's a school day, and just to be prepared. So that's more of a broad way of looking at your week, just so your child knows what to expect each day. The next one we have is a first then schedule, which really just helps break down the schedule into smaller chunks. So if your child seems to be overwhelmed by the larger schedule at first, you can take 2 images and put them on the first then schedule just to break it down. So we're just focusing on these 2 things. Typically the second activity is more of a preferred activity, so they're working towards that. It doesn't always have to be that way. That's how we use it a lot in the school though. So we'll say you're gonna do this activity you may not wanna do, and then you can do Play-Doh, or then you can, whatever it is that your child is working for, whatever's motivating. So that's great if you're having a hard time getting your child motivated. On that same topic, we also have what we call token charts. So it's just, I am working for, so you're gonna put a picture or a symbol or a word of a reward that your child is working for. It might be snack, it might be music time, it might be game, it might be a little bit of screen time, and then you can decide what tasks they have to complete in order to earn that reward. So this is also great if you're having a hard time motivating your child to complete some of those non-preferred tasks. There are also a variety of visual schedule apps available. If you need something more portable, if you need, if you just don't have the resources or the time to create a schedule, you can always use a visual schedule app. Some of these are ones that we've used. There are others available. Some are free, some cost a little bit of money. So if you'll just go into the App Store, and if you just search visual schedule apps, there's some things available that might be helpful. I know there's one that I use, this ASD Tools one, where I can take a picture for first then, and it has a little timer. So I've done that when working with children, so that's a great one. But there's good things about all of them. And I just want to, one more thing, I just want to say, your visual schedule that you create doesn't have to be anything fancy. We're going to see some examples coming up where the kids are just drawing pictures to represent their schedule. I've seen an example of somebody using sticky notes and just writing out or drawing a picture of each activity in the day in sticky notes. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It's just a way of visually showing your child what's coming next. And if you're explaining it to them while you're showing them and they understand what the image, either you're drawing or your sticky note or you're writing, if you're explaining to them what that means, then they'll start to understand. So we're going to watch some video examples of some different visual schedules that people have used.
Some children find it hard to focus just on what they're hearing, and they need a visual picture to help their understanding. Pictures and symbols can give extra clues to support what is being said. These visual supports are all around us. Think about the signs you see in the streets and in the shops and in the buildings. They all help to provide information, point the way, and inform us about the world in which we live. Where language is a barrier, pictures help. It is the same for children who find listening to language or understanding language difficult. So here are a few ways in which pictures can help your child. Time is a very difficult concept for some children to understand. If they can actually see when it is time for an event or activity to begin or finish, this can help them understand and reduce their anxiety. Sand timers of 1, 3, and 5 minutes can be used to show how long an activity will last. Place the sand timer next to the activity, for example, the computer, and say, when all the sand has reached the bottom, the computer will be turned off. You can support children in making choices by having a simple board of pictures representing activities or foods that are available.
Do you want grapes, yogurt, or crisps? Crisps, please. Crisps, please. Okay, good choice.
It can be difficult for children to understand or remember what is going to happen, and this is especially true when they may be anxious or if they have a short attention span. So showing them what is happening in pictures can be a good way to explain what will happen when listening may be difficult. We are going to use a simple board showing what will happen now and next.
So we've finished the dollies. Should we take that one off? And next we've got drawing next. Fantastic.
Visual timetables are the next step on from using the now and next board. Once your child is comfortable with following now and next, you could try using 3 or 4 pictures on a timetable to show your child the events happening that day. This technique reduces a child's anxiety if he has a problem imagining or remembering what will happen next. We are using ours outside while playing in the garden.
Oh, got you. Well done. Shall I show you?
Yeah.
So we've had lunch. So that's finished.
Yeah.
And now we've come outside. And we're going to play with a ball and some games. And then at the end it's sweets time. Okay?
We are not always able to pre-prepare a visual plan for an event that is going to happen. In these situations, you can use a piece of paper and quickly draw out the steps involved in the new event to help your child understand what will happen. If the child we were working with was a little older, we would involve them in drawing or writing out what will happen together.
Oh, you're very good at drawing, girls. And then the last thing we're going to do is get in the car to go home. Brilliant drawing. Excellent. Okay, there you go. tick that one off for me?
Notice how they ticked off each step as it was completed.
Brilliant. So what do we have to do next?
Tidy up.
Tidy up. So should we put everything?
We hope these ideas have been helpful and that you feel confident to try them with your child at home, while going out, or in school.
I wanted to show another example of using a visual schedule in the home. And this one's pretty simple. It is just a paint stick I got for free. I put some magnet strips on it. And I have the icons Velcroed. This little container, magnetic, right now at Target for $1. And I just taped and all done to hold the icons. It's an afternoon, evening schedule, dinner time. They take the icon, bring this to the table where they eat. When they're finished dinner, they come back and drop it in the all done. They check their schedule, time for television. They bring this with them when they finish TV, which I hope you set your timer so that they know when TV time is over. And then they come and check their schedule, finished bin. It's time to take a bath. So the idea is that your child goes through their evening schedule so they know what to expect. This is really simple. What I love about the idea of this being on the paint stick and the magnetic is that it's portable. So you can just bring this to the bedroom for the read the book and bedtime so that they don't have to come check their schedule on the refrigerator. This is portable, and you can have one of these for morning schedule, one of these done for afternoon schedule, and just put them up as needed. Very inexpensive, $1 at the dollar bin, free paint stick, printed out and laminated the icons, Velcro dots from the Dollar Tree. I hope this is helpful for some of you.
I love the portability of this one. The ability to just take it off the refrigerator and take it into another part of the home. I do want to point out that keeping it in a spot like on the refrigerator is great because that's kind of a central location in your home. Usually gets more traffic, and so kids are used to going in and out of there, so just easier for them to go in there and check their schedule. Okay, we're going to watch one more video of an example.
Hi guys, I wanted to show you 2 easy ways to do visual schedules at home. We use visual schedules for children that have a hard time with transitions. So this is how it works. So the first one, I just took pictures of things around the house. So this is our nighttime routine. First, we take a bath. The child takes a bath and he comes over and he goes, all done bath. And then let's see what's next. Okay, now we have to put on our pajamas. Child puts on his pajamas. All done pajamas. Now it's time to brush our teeth. Child brushes his teeth. All done brushing. All right, time for bed. We're so tired, let's go to bed. And then you go to bed. So this is nice because you can use it over and over again. It's a little interactive. The kid can open and close it, and then, but they always know what's going to happen next. So they're not surprised about what's going to happen. Another easy way is just to have pictures on the wall. First, we're going to take a bath. Child takes a bath. The child comes over here, takes the picture off the wall, and puts it in the basket. All done bath. Next, we put on lotion. Okay, all done lotion. Put it in the basket. Okay, let's put on our pajamas. The child puts on his pajamas. He comes over to the wall. All done pajamas. Time to brush our teeth. Okay, the child brushes his teeth. All done brushing teeth. And then the last thing is we go to bed. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions.
Okay, now we're going to talk about creating your own visual schedules. The first thing you are going to do is you're going to sit down and write down the events that occur each day. This is going to be different for every child. Some kids will need the beginning of getting out of bed, going to the bathroom, getting dressed, brushing teeth. It all depends on your child. Some kids will just need to start with what happens after breakfast. But I feel like that it's very important for you to write this down first so that you know later what are the visuals I need to get together in the order that you need to get them, because especially if you are doing some of the virtual learning, it's all pretty new to us, right? And so you will need to really write down what subjects are going to be when. So just kind of having a foundation before you actually start gathering those visuals. Then you're going to fill in any gaps. You want to plan for structured activities, for more structured activities for specific times in the day. Instead of just free time, you may want to say, okay, this is when you're going to play with Legos, and this is when you're going to read a book. There's plenty of free play time activities that can be broken down into what the specific activity would look like for your child. Then you need to gather or create your images to represent each event on the schedule. Make sure that you include images of activities that may not occur daily, like doctor, dentist, therapy appointments, sports activities, grocery shopping. Again, like you saw with the surprise, that might be going to McDonald's for lunch. There's things that you might want to think about going ahead and adding in there. The image ideas, you can take pictures of your child completing the task. You can take pictures of someone else completing the task. You can use clip art from Google Images, or even when I went into Word, I was able to draw pictures from the internet. You can draw the pictures or have your child draw the pictures. And you can use objects as well to represent an activity. You could use a fork that represents that it's time to eat. You can use a pencil that represents it's time for work, their schoolwork. What you would be great is to pair a picture with that object, that real object, so that the student can eventually transition into using the picture. Also, I feel like it's very important to also have language on each picture that says what it's representing as far for the literacy piece of that as well, so that you have the name of what's happening with the visual image. Some pre-literacy skills there. Some materials, we are going to provide you guys with an email. I believe it's coming from Melissa, but you'll be getting an email, and it has several different schedules and icons that you can use. We're going to go through those here in just a minute, but the materials that you might need to have are some scissors, some self-sealing laminating pouches. I found those at Walmart. Took a picture of what they look like, or you can use contact paper, or if you happen to have a laminator, you can use the laminator as well. You'll need some Velcro, which I also found at Walmart in the sewing section, as a matter of fact. You'll need the printed materials. Those are some of the things that we'll provide you, and we'll talk about other ways to get the icons if you don't like the ones that we are providing. And you may need a folder or poster board to display the schedules on. Again, I really like that idea of the paint stick. I thought that was really neat. Okay, so I made you a visual step-by-step to show you how to put the print with the word, and that it just really breaks it down. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to print the icons. Then you're going to cut them. Then you're going to laminate the cut icons. Okay. Then you're going to cut them again. Now, the reason behind this is when you use those icons over and over and over, you want to make sure that they have a good seal of laminate around them. If you just stick in the whole piece of paper into the laminate and then cut them, eventually that laminate's going to come off. So it's best to print, cut, laminate, and then cut again. Then you're going to put the Velcro on it, and then you're going to assemble it. You're going to teach your child what each symbol means. Then you're going to teach your child how to follow the schedule. So I'm going to go back to the teach your child what each symbol means. For instance, school. There may be a picture of a desk. That might represent school. There might be a picture of a pencil. That might represent school. You might use a picture of a schoolhouse with a flag in front. That might represent school. The symbol doesn't necessarily matter what symbol it is, but you have to teach them the meaning to that symbol. Then you're going to teach them how to follow the schedule. Is it going to be left to right, top to bottom? And Jennifer made a good point earlier, talking about going from left to right. That's a pre-literacy skill, teaching the kids reading left to right. That's a great idea. So you just have to teach them that you don't go up to any part and pick off your favorite one. A lot of kids will try to do that. They like to go up and pick, of course, what the reward's going to be. And you just teach them, no, we go back to the beginning. This is what's next. Once the routine is familiar to your child, you can start using strategies to prepare them for changes in the schedule. Excuse me. Things to consider. Transition cues. Visual timer, verbal warning, or a song. We all know when we start hearing the cleanup song, it's time to clean up. That is a transition cue. On number 2, I've put together some pictures and names of visual timers. These can be found on Amazon and they work in various ways. Jennifer, can you show your visual timer that you have at home?
Yeah. So this is something that I've also got on Amazon. It might be a little less expensive than some of the others, but I use this with my kiddos at home, and you turn it to however much time and it shows red, so your child can see if it's a little bit of time or a lot of time. This has been really helpful. I'm going to make it ding real quick. It's been really helpful with transitioning my kiddos to things that they don't like to do, like maybe nap time. So if they're really into playing or doing something they really enjoy, if I just say, okay, it's time to go take a nap, I might have a meltdown. But if I go in there even 5 minutes before and just set the timer for 5 minutes and say, look at the timer, this is how much time you have. When the timer goes off, it's time for nap. We have less behavioral issues. So it dings and I say, oh, the timer went off. What time is it? And they'll say, oh, it's nap time. They might still protest a little bit, but they're prepared for it, so we're not going to have a meltdown. So the transition's a little bit easier that way. It's always good, especially when transitioning from a preferred activity to a non-preferred activity, to have some sort of visual preparation for your child so they know what's coming next. We also see this a lot with if a kid's getting some screen time and you're giving them an iPad or they're watching TV or something. It's really hard to just say, okay, it's time to turn it off. But if you set a timer and they can see how much time they have, a lot of times transitioning away from that is a little bit easier. So definitely something you'll want to try. Also want to point out that there are some visual timer apps available. So just something to look for. If you don't want to buy a physical one, you can just pull it up on your phone.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and the thing with the visual timers as well as the visual schedules is that you have something to blame it on. It's not you telling the child that it's time to move on. It is the timer. Hey, you can be mad, but you can be mad at the timer. Sorry, and go look at your schedule. That's the schedule says this is what's next, whether you like it or not. That's kind of how it goes. So, I mean, it kind of takes some pressure off as a parent as to what's next. Also, location is important. Keep the visual schedule in a central location in your home, like the refrigerator, the family room, somewhere, but it's also important to always keep it there. If it's on the refrigerator today, it needs to be there tomorrow. I know that in one of the videos, she did talk about taking it to the bedroom. That's fine. Just put it back where it went before. We don't want it to end up being like our phones or our keys where we're going, wait, where's the visual schedule? So just always having it in a consistent place is also fosters that independence for our kiddos. When they wake up in the morning, they know exactly where to go to check what is the first thing on my schedule. Some resources for you. Amazon does have visual schedules that are already made. They're already cut. They're already laminated. I don't know if they already have the Velcro on them. I'm not sure about that, but they do have those types of things. You just search for visual schedules for kids and a million pop up. Amazon also has those timers like I was talking about before. There's also a website called teacherspayteachers.com. And this is a website where teachers put all kinds of curriculum. They put all kinds of things on there. Again, you just search for a visual schedule. There'll be some free ones. There'll be some that you pay to download. But they're all, for everything that I've run across on Teachers Pay Teachers, you pay for the download. Or it's a free download, but it all downloads and then you create it. You print, cut, laminate, cut again, Velcro, and create. They're providing just the visuals. But again, at the end, I'll show you here in a few minutes, we will also be providing you free visuals. And then Pinterest, you can search for visual schedules on there. And again, a million will pop up, but some are free and some are paid, some are downloads, some I'm sure would be shipped to you. It's just kind of one of those, it's a treasure trove of visuals for you.
This would be a good time to show the visuals.
Okay, absolutely. So the email that you will be getting are these visuals that you will be able to print out. And there's several different kinds. I'm going to first go through the visual schedule, different visual schedules on here. There's one called Homeschool Things to Do. Okay. And it's just, I printed this out. I cut it, laminated it, printed it, cut it again. And you line it up as to what the student needs to do for the day. And as they're finished, they move it over. So these are the things that are done. Velcro tends to have an amazing effect on kids. They really like the sound. It really provides a tactile and auditory feedback that kids tend to really like. And I say kids, that includes me as well. Here's a different kind of schedule. Here's another schedule. This would be one that you would just use a dry erase marker and just check it off as you go. Now, these schedules are ones that I downloaded that someone else created and we downloaded. They are okay to use, but I will say I have not been able to find a way to manipulate the order that it goes in. So whatever order it's in, some of these, you won't be able to change it up. However, I did make some for virtual learning in particular. And I made icons. This will actually be on a Word document in your email, like online classes, break. What is this? Social reading. So that, and I did all the subjects. Because it is a Word document, I believe if you save it, you will be able to make changes to it, and that's fine. But this is something that you can either have it all the subjects that they need to do for the whole day, or I just made these 3, and when they're finished, they can just close it up. Close it up, close it up. I also put it in this notebook so that inside this notebook, you could have the extras of the extra icons that you may not be using. Another example that you will be getting is a school day schedule. This is kind of fun. This is one that you just slide through. And it tells you what's coming up next. But again, this is one that you can't manipulate. So it pretty much stays in the order that it's there, I believe. Someone may prove me wrong, and that's perfectly fine. We also talked about the first then. This, when it might need to be broken down a little bit for the kids. So first social studies, and then you get your lunch. So again, that Word document icon, those icons in that Word document, you can use in this. You can use any pictures. You can make your own pictures, however you want to do it. But you will also get this first then piece of paper to print out as well. And last but not least, the I am working for. This is kind of that token board. This is an example. I'm working for my iPad. So you would line up the 4 things that your kiddo has to get done before they get that iPad. And as they complete it, check it off. So once they finish this last one, then they get the iPad. So those are the things that you will be getting in a follow-up email, and you can print and do it that way. Again, Amazon has some that are already made. Jennifer and I are available for any questions you have. Is it our contact information this next? Jennifer?
I want to jump in and just say, if you're watching the recorded version of this training, you'll need to contact us if you want some of those printables. So the next one
you did not originally sign up for the yes. Correct. Yeah.
So our next slide was questions. We had some questions about if you have multiple children close to the same age, would you use the same schedule or would you use multiple schedules? It really depends on your child, but for the most part, it gives them a sense of it's personalized to them if they have their own. So if they each have their own schedule to go check and move, that's best. Within a classroom setting, a lot of times each child has their own visual schedule. So they go in and they check, okay, what are we doing now? What's next? So if you're able to create different ones for your children, that's the best way to do it. There was also a question about, can you have multiple schedules throughout the day? Absolutely. If you have a lot of things going on in one day, it might be overwhelming to list them all out. So you can break it down. Like we said earlier, you can have a morning schedule and an afternoon schedule, or however you need to break it up for your kids. Our contact information is listed here. If you have any questions or if you need assistance with anything, feel free to contact us. Also, if your child receives any sort of special education services at school, their service providers are available to help as well. Their teachers, their speech pathologists, their occupational therapists, physical therapists, anyone who's working with them can also help with this. But here's our contact information if you need us. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys, and good luck.